guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin. We're sitting fresh in the playoffs right now, coming off a decisive win against the Colts, coming off a fresh new year, 2023. Guys, what's your resolution this year for 2023?
My resolution. I don't even know if I've thought about that yet. Maybe to see you guys more physically in person instead of through this little video contraption.
We've been doing good on that, though.
I know, but
I've
even
seen
more.
you 3 times in December, Colin.
I know,
That's,
more.
3 more times than I've seen you in the last 3 months put together, I think.
Good. Let's make it a habit.
Dan, what's your resolution this year?
I would take what Colin said one step further, and we're getting the band back together.
Yep,
guys.
that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
All right,
that's
yeah,
it.
we were in a band in high school. It was called Last Action Hero. We rocked it out. We did
I'm sure
play with,
everyone's heard of them.
yeah, of course.
Heard
We
of us.
did our claim to fame was we did play with this band called Taking Back Sunday. I don't know if maybe some of you guys might be familiar
An
with
immensely
them.
famous band.
We were 16 years old and we played with like a really popular touring band. It was the highlight of my high school career, other than, just being totally cool and awesome in general. And then sort of degrading into whatever I have become now.
Yeah, it was a great time. We have to get the band back together. In fact, we should just have Eric on soon.
Eric was the drummer. Yeah. Eric is the best musician I've ever met in my life. Fantastic.
Knows nothing about football. But
No. Hey, he does watch the Giants, though. He does watch the Giants. He has no idea what's going on, but he supports
he's
them.
enthusiastic.
Uh-huh.
Well, hey, man, we got a big off season coming up. There's times after the draft and between, training camp that there's a little bit of dead time. We could reminisce, have a reminiscent episode, get 2 or 3 listeners. I know your mom will be interested to hear about what we were doing in high school.
Absolutely. So
other than having Daniel Jones in the bathroom. I'm sorry. That has no context because I haven't debuted his new nickname yet. So we'll get to that. But hey, guys, as usual, please follow Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter at BBU Podboys with the Z. And don't forget to download that DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN when you sign up for stuff, promos, money, all that sort of fun stuff. I'm sure you guys like free money, right?
I like it.
I know I do.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's just start off, with the obvious. We're in the GD playoffs, friends.
That's right.
And I can't believe it. And the first thing opening up this podcast I want to ask you guys is, before this season started, if one of us or anybody had told you that the Giants would be sitting at 9 wins with 1 week left in the season as the number 6 seed in the playoffs this year, what would you have said to them?
Not going to happen. Not true.
Yeah, I would say you're not a fan. You shouldn't be allowed to watch football anymore.
Yeah, but here we are now. I guess.
What did we predict? I think I predicted like 4 wins.
Yeah,
I think you guys might have predicted like 6 or 5.
I definitely was around 7 actually, just looking at the schedule. But I was being, I think, very optimistic at that moment.
Let's not forget how god awful, utterly atrocious they were last year.
So bad.
Unwatchable. Totally unwatchable. From the first game of the season to the last game of the season, they were pure trash.
Yeah.
They were running a QB sneak at the 10-yard line in their own territory at this time last year, and now we're looking to the playoffs 2 weeks from now. What a turnaround.
Yeah, it's funny. I think in retrospect, after the game was over and kind of ruminating on it a little bit, I realized that I didn't physically allow myself to believe that it was possible that we could make the playoffs until the moment that the clock was actually 0. And then it happened and I was like, oh, okay. I'm seeing the Gatorade over Dable and Shane came out on the field. They're 25 feet in front of me because yes, Mr. Fancy Boy went to the game again.
Colin, tell me about that atmosphere in the stadium because I did read a Nick Gates quote where he said it was just banging all game. Was that reality?
Absolutely. Kayvon actually said it as well, that it was electric, and it was an incredible feeling to know that first year in the league, he's at this level and he's starting to come into his own. And this is the kind of fan base that's out there who's hungry for wins and hungry for some consistency and something to actually believe in for the first time in 12 years. I will throw out 2016 because that was, as you know, was an aberration of sorts. But yeah, it was rocking. It was rocking. You know what was actually the most shocking part about it was it all started to feel normal again. That's the word, normal. It felt normal. Like it was back to
I love that.
where
I love that.
the expectations of the fans sitting there were, yes, it was hopping, but it wasn't insane. It was controlled. It was like, yes, this is our place. We're doing the things that we've done in the past, and we're getting hot at that right time, and we have the best people leading the team to do so. So yeah, in short.
I mean, yeah, I guess the only thing I really wanted to, I mean, you elaborate on it. Maybe Dan, you want to elaborate a bit? Like, how do you think this happened? I mean, the coaching, right? What else is there on this team that you think brought them to the playoffs, or is it just, the will of Brian Daboll and the scheme and some of those, lower tier free agents that panned out for the Giants?
Yeah, I think that it. I mean, to say coaching, it encompasses a lot of things. I think, like, most obviously, the scheme and design of both the offense and defense is entirely different and entirely modernized and optimized for the players that we have, and totally maximizing their ability. But the stories we heard from the beginning of the season throughout the year, I think have bared to be true, sort of about the culture change and the attention to detail around people in the building and the sense of camaraderie and openness of the coaching staff. It wasn't like, like Dave Gettleman, like no Essels allowed or whatever on the desk, or, like that clip that Colin sent, but it was also in an article I read, I think before the season started, about Daboll and his, his approach to dealing with people that come to speak to him, and about giving them full attention and truly valuing their time. That makes a difference, and people can tell. Like, I don't think you were receiving that level of engagement from the previous regimes. And when people deal with each other humanely and compassionately, you're going to work harder. And I think, that, aside from having the right plays at the right time, you're also getting maximum effort from your players because, they love each other to a degree, and they love the people that are making the decisions that they don't have a control over.
And this is the connection. This is what we've been lacking since Coughlin left. That intangible thing that you're talking about right there, Dan.
And to establish that in a year, like in a few months, is the unbelievable, fantastical part. Like, it took Coughlin years and years and years to get to that level where people bought in. Either the team was so starved for any semblance of like real human interaction and respect, or Daboll's a magician. It's probably a combination somewhere in the middle, or of both. But like, that's the thing. Like, regardless of what happens, I think I alluded to it earlier in the season. Like, I cared more about how they were playing than the results of the games. And to a degree, that's still how I feel. Like, I say it every episode, but like, I couldn't be happier with the direction this team is headed in and how we're doing it and how we're getting there. Because unless something drastic happens and some, a controversy or something derails what's going on in the momentum of this team, like, we are headed for way better things than we've achieved in this miraculous season so far.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of back up what you guys are saying, I mean, do you guys remember at the beginning of the season when we're sort of introduced to Daboll and Shane, and Daboll has his first press conference, and he's like asking everyone, "Oh, hey, how are you? How you doing?" And they're all taken aback by it. I mean,
yeah,
I think those little things you could have noticed at the beginning of the year, or when they had that like first big meeting, and he's like, everyone that works in this building is important equally, regardless of what you do, whether you take out the trash or if you're throwing touchdown passes. And I think Daboll is the kind of guy who probably knows everyone's name in the whole building. And I think those little things, Dan, that you just were mentioning are so important in building that culture and how that culture takes over almost immediately. Like you said, Tom Coughlin, once he eased up a little bit, that's what made him more successful, more than being like the, hard ass that he was known as. So I really do think that these guys are in tune with, the newer generations and how people want to be treated in the workplace. Just in the spectrum of all society,
I was
Yeah.
going to ask you though. This might be sort of insane, or I'm not trying to like blow smoke up your butt, but you more so than me and Colin run a business. You're an owner. You're a person that makes decisions every day. Is like, does thinking about how Dable and this group come in and take over either like resonate with you or give you something to think about how you run your business and your subordinates deal with them? And
Dan, it's funny you say that because it actually does, because I do oftentimes like look to football coaching occasionally for ideas because it is ways to motivate people positively, because you need results, but you like, I wouldn't take like, being a hard ass. I'm never a hard ass. Like I like to nurture people and
people in the restaurant industry are though. There are a lot of people that are in the restaurant business.
Yeah, but I don't like that environment. And I grew up.
Saying that's a choice you make. That's a choice.
Yeah, I grew up in the restaurant business, with those people.
Yeah.
And in the moment I became, someone's boss that decided I never would be that way. So while, I would be more of like a player who became a coach, I guess, in the same scenario, because I was like, a bartender forever. But I think those ideals are super important, especially with like, people in the younger generation, people who are in their early 20s, they respond well to sort of like being compassionate and not being a hard ass. And I think that's what Dable and Shane have fostered, and it's worked. And it's been a miraculous sort of turnaround to witness over this year. And I can't
still hold people accountable.
Oh,
yeah, exactly that, Dan. Yeah. You have to hold people accountable, and there is the right and wrong way to do that.
Kenny Galladay.
And
that's it.
Hey man, and then you know what? And when you have someone that you can't deal with and they don't want to fit in and you don't hold them accountable, then you ship them out like they did with Kadarius Toney. And that's like the right thing to do. And maybe he had a good game last week and he might produce, but if he doesn't fit into your system, whatever your system might be, then it's not going to work out. You just have to move on. And I'm happy that, they have the wherewithal to make hard choices, because there's hard choices coming up this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who'd have thought? I mean, it had been 43 games since we scored more than 30 points. And we finally did it in a moment.
44 games?
43.
Oh, it was 43.
Yeah. And this was a very good time to do it. I think this was a nice way to kick open the door of sorts. Frankly, if we want to jump into next week in terms of the next thought, just before we go over the game, I would like to, just because it's all on our mind. I have no problem sitting certain people and then going hard with like whoever else. Like
before we talk about the Giants, why don't we talk about what you think the Eagles are going to do? Because I think that kind of predicates maybe what the Giants might be thinking. So the Eagles are playing for the number 1 seed and the NFC East champion. So do you think they play the starters? Do you think, I've heard Jalen Hurts is ready to go, but do you force him back if he's not 100% when you might be in the place? But you also have to consider that first round bye is huge for more than just your quarterback, but for everyone on your team. I mean, what would you do in that situation? It's a hard situation for a head coach.
We've sort of been there ourselves in the past in a way. When we played the Patriots in 2007 at the end of the season, same situation. You got to go hard with the momentum of it going in. It's very important to get hot and ride that. So I think if the Eagles are truly on that next level, regardless of how many wins they had during the regular season, are they ready to, get back there and do something? I think a team that would want to do that would try to start their players, all their regular starters, at least for a good majority of the beginning of the game, and see if they can put some points away and then slowly take them off. I think that's what you'll end up seeing. They'll hope for a big lead, take the starters off. If it goes to the end, that'll be interesting, I think.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but you're right, TJ. Like the first round bye is the biggest advantage in like all sports playoffs, because it's a 1-game elimination. It's not like basketball or baseball where you're playing a series. Having that bye is a massive advantage. And I think I had like a stupid idea, which I don't think any team would ever do, but would be to like play like Gardner Minshew and if things get tight, then bring Jalen Hurts in to like save it.
Yeah.
But I think a more likely scenario for the Eagles at least would to probably be playing their best players and hoping to get out to a massive lead early on. Especially they're going to read what the Giants are doing. My personal opinion is the Giants shouldn't start anyone of particular key, nature. Like Dexter Lawrence shouldn't be playing. He should have the week off. Daniel Jones should be playing. Anyone that's like nursing injury shouldn't be playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a when do we effectively get a bye? Like this is effectively a bye.
Exactly.
So I think the Giants should be benching anyone of consequence, really. And if they're doing that, then the Eagles might also, preserve certain players if they're able to.
Yeah.
I think that if we're putting second string players in, like Gardner Minshew should be able to handle the Giants fairly easily.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hard disagree because I think right now the Giants have gone through sort of a great start to the season and then had a bit of a downturn and then now are playing the best football of the whole year. And I think Daniel Jones specifically is playing his best football of the year. And I think you have to ride that momentum and you're playing a divisional opponent who beat you before. What better way to run into the playoffs than, getting of the W against these guys and getting your guys, hyped up to continue to perform at a high level moving into the playoffs. I understand the concept of sitting guys. You don't want people to get hurt. Maybe, you have like a Leonard Williams who has a shoulder. You let him sit a game. I get the Dexter Lawrence thing, but, let these guys play. Let these guys play ball. Let them go, and the Giants are going to be the 6th seed no matter what. So I get what you're saying. Like, yes, sitting people could be beneficial to them to a degree, but I want this to keep going. And I want to see Daniel Jones come out, and I want Jalen Hurts to start. I want them to start with the players, and I really want this to be another statement game for the Giants going into the playoffs. They're going to get the Vikings or the Niners, depending on what goes on this weekend. And I'm all about the momentum, and I'm all about that, maybe you want to, as Dable said, 2007 isn't 2023, but there are parallels to those situations. And I feel like when you are hot, just keep it rolling, man. I don't want to sit people. I really don't.
Yeah, it's the toughest decision in NFL coaching and owning, I'd say, decisions. It's like one of the hardest things to do, to decide on, because you have to really believe in luck at a certain point, because the injury thing is a big concern. I have no problem going for the momentum aspect of things. I know that's the heroic thing to do, but and usually in the past I would say that, and I'd agree with you. But yeah, I don't know why it makes me think that this is a good time to sit some people, but I don't mind losing this game. I feel like with this coaching staff, they'd be able to rally the troops enough to not make that bye week a detriment to the game plan and spirit going forward in the playoffs.
That's
exactly
a fair
what I was
point.
gonna say, Colin. I think my faith in the coaching staff to, present this to the team and frame it and motivate them for when the playoffs come should overcome it. Like what they were able to get out of this team this entire season, I think that the team is capable of wrapping their brains around, we're going to get healthy this week and we're going to hit it harder than we ever hit it for the playoffs. I also think, one of the strengths of the team is our scheming. Like at this point, the acclaim for Dable and Kafka's offensive game plans has been amazing. So I think they'd be foolish to unveil any sort of innovations in the offensive scheme in this game of no consequence. So they'll likely be running a vanilla offense in order to have some tricks in the bag for hopefully playing the Vikings, which would be a very winnable game, which would be a dream scenario. I just think there's a lot of factors. It's basically all these sort of reasonable, rational factors versus the idea of momentum and keeping a good thing going.
What about stopping the Eagles' momentum, who has been the best team in the NFC all year? And your division rival. You don't think that I mean, yes, you say the coaching staff, can motivate guys, but what's more motivating than picking up that win against the team that beat you, your biggest division rival, the number one team in your division? Do you not think that rallies the troops?
I mean, sure,
yes,
it's
it
good,
does.
but the risk that you're taking on is massive for a game that means nothing ultimately. Besides, like, I think they think right now they could play with anyone already. I don't think they need to, beat the Eagles to believe in themselves.
I mean, do you want to see Tyrod Taylor in there? Is what you're saying, or you just want to see
Sure.
like Joe? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care. Like, I want our starters to be healthy for games that matter.
Yep.
And the Eagles are the defense is very physically dominating. I don't want offensive linemen which we're brutally thin at, and we finally have the starters and anyone to get injured. Like we don't have much depth whatsoever on any side of the ball. Any injury is going to hurt. Like Dory Jackson, like what are you going to start him in this game? Like what are
See,
we?
no, I wouldn't rush people back if you don't have to, but if guys are healthy, I'd say play.
Half the team is like, just coming back from injury. Like we have so many guys come back this week. I don't know. I don't. There's no need arguing. I think. There's a point. Your point, TJ. Makes sense. I think that just the pros to keeping it. Not playing anyone of consequence, or that they're going to be a key player.
I mean, I see both sides of it, man. I'm not like
I've never been
steadfast to my point or anything, but
Yeah.
I get how the other way could work too. I just like looking at right here, right now. I just feel like continuing, keep rolling.
Sorry.
Dude, the playoffs are so fun. Like it'd be fun to like beat the Eagles and cost them the bye or whatever. But being in the playoffs and winning playoff games is way more fun. It's just way more fun.
Maybe before we jump, Colin, let's keep going. Like you said, maybe before we jump back into the game this weekend, let's like talk about the potential. So you either have the Vikings or the Colts right now. Giants are 6 seed, Vikings are 3. Depending on what happens next weekend, since the Niners and the Vikings have the same record, I think it's at 12-4. Those could crisscross, and I have to 100% agree with Dan with the point you made before that we'd much rather see the Vikings. We've had that matchup. We've seen we can compete with them. I think that the Niners run game is a real risk for the Giants defense being, that bad against the run. And, really rooting for the Vikings this weekend. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah. That's kind of how it has to be.
I should mention Vikings playing the Bears, Niners playing Arizona. So both of those games are winnable for both those teams.
But we know how this league is.
What happens?
What's that?
If
they both win, then the seeding remains the same. If the Vikings Vikings win, the Niners lose, then we get the Niners. Yeah.
Oh, Vikings win and Niners lose, then we get them. Okay.
And
the Niners win and the Vikings lose, they stay the same. Okay.
Stay the same. Yeah, that's the only scenario where we don't play the Vikings. As far, don't quote me on that 100%. I did some research, but I'm not an expert at that.
No, that makes sense. I got it. Yeah.
TJ, I got a text from a fellow Oneonta guy with the other Nick. The two Nicks, they're on one thread. I don't know if you remember Nick T, but anyway.
Nick Tershi.
He's like, any of you guys have any interest in going to the playoff game? I'm like, yeah, I guess it depends on where it is. But
don't you get tickets?
It's a lottery for playoffs, and it's away too. So.
Oh, okay. But if they have a playoff home game, you have season tickets. Obviously, good to go, right?
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know. That it just jumped in my head. I'm like, Can I go to Minnesota and just be a weirdo for
man, I would say that if they didn't have that brand new awesome stadium, I'd be like, but like I bet that stadium is so cool. It'd be such a good experience to go there. Absolutely. Inside too, which is nice.
Yeah, so I don't know.
When I went to Lucas Oil, I was like the first dome I ever went to, and I was like, oh, could take my jacket off, and it's the winter, just chill out.
Yeah,
it's really nice. Like as opposed to freezing your ass off at MetLife every time you go. For the most part,
I kind of like it. I like suffering, but we are Giants fans.
We are Giants fans. Yeah, that's a very good point. Totally. We should talk about the Colts game though. Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the most convincing win of the season. Like the Colts are bad, but you love to see what you saw this game. The most points the Giants have scored. Colin, you said before 43 games. I have 44. We'll fight about it after the podcast is over.
Whatever it was the last game that Eli ever played. So
Oh, that's sweet, actually. I
Yeah,
like that.
the comeback win against the Dolphins.
When he evened out his win-loss, which was really important to me, actually. I really didn't want him to go down with a losing record. I mean, an even record it's better than a losing record.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hey.
Fans, the tradition, the glory. There's nothing more thrilling than college football, and it all comes down to the national championship game happening on Monday. My go-to for betting is DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and get $200 in free bets instantly, win or lose. Plus, everyone can combine multiple bets for bigger payouts with DraftKings same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. New customers bet just $5 in college football and $200 in free bets instantly. That's promo code TPPN. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
That's pretty funny.
No, I mean, I didn't want to jump into Daniel Jones right away because I think last week when I was listening to Pod that I wasn't on and Dan was like, we become the Daniel Jones podcast. I was like, we have, and I don't want to do it. But so let's talk about other things first.
Okay.
So I want to talk about Jeff Saturday and the things he said about Kayvon Thibodeau. He's a classless individual. Did he not watch the replay? Kayvon never got up. Like he didn't see what was going on.
Yeah,
it was extended.
No, I think this was a.
He did that for a long time though.
Well,
it was really long.
Did it for a long time.
Really long.
This was one of those situations where Jeff Saturday was pulling the old "I have to support my players no matter what" kind of thing and put on what he put on. So that's fine. I don't hate him for that. He might even think it wasn't even that bad, but he's got to say it. Yeah, Kayvon looked a little silly. I don't care. I don't care at all. Don't give a shit.
What a game he had, man. He's going to be good. His rookie year has panned out quite well. I think I read a statistic where it's like if a rookie gets, 3 to 5 sacks his first season, at least, then he's projected to have double-digit sacks like at least 5 seasons in his career.
Jesus.
That's a PFF thing that I was reading the other
Really?
day. So, I'm pleased, man. I'm very pleased. And also, I should mention that when Kayvon Thibodeau went to the sideline, he did also do this. So,
good.
What I wanted to say about this was, Jeff Saturday didn't bring up when his linebacker cheap shotted Daniel Jones' head with his forearm on a slide and got a penalty. Yep. So, do you really care about player safety, or are you just a moron? Mm-hmm. So I think Colin, are right about that. He's just trying to protect his players verbally.
Which is fine. He's a bad coach. He's not going to be a coach much longer, and that's going to be it. He's going to be enjoying his Saturdays and Sundays going forward. Yeah. So,
Dan, one word to describe Jeff Saturday.
Chance,
yeah, agreed. He does have pretty eyes, though.
I suppose.
Yeah.
What else the game you guys want to bring up? I mean, we could obviously talk about Saquon Barkley had an okay game, 58 yards. I think, he had some passes that were good. Richie James, came up strong. Isaiah Hodges, again, came up strong. Bellinger had a couple great passes. I really liked the play calling. I really love the running game.
Bellinger heating up is giving me some douche chills of like Colin and I were talking about how like old Giants teams are successful, got a lot out of sort of lower drafted tight ends and Kevin Boss and Jake Ballard. And, if you can start getting 50 plus yards out of Bellinger every week, that'd be tasty. And I think you can get more because we have no receivers still.
Feed them. Feed the hot hand.
Guys are stepping up.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all about wanting to cut Richie James a couple weeks ago after those 2 fumbles. But I mean, he had, I think 5 grabs, 70, 80 yards, touchdown. They're really making a lot out of basically trash receivers.
Yeah. I'm constantly thinking about who we could possibly pick up that's out there. And I don't think there's no one out there to pick up. That'd be interesting.
Now? Yeah. I mean, how could you? I mean, you can anyway.
Nonstop.
But,
there on the couch, But
speaking of the play calling, you alluded to it, but that Bellinger play, which was right after a big first down, they went for another first down when there was misdirection, pitch, handoff, play action, and then all of a sudden cross field to Bellinger right over somebody's outstretched hand. And it was just like, oh, we haven't done that kind of stuff in a good long time, if at all. I don't remember that kind of stuff. It was like very herky-jerky feeling, but it was exactly what was needed in that moment. And getting down to like the 12 or whatever it ended up being. It was, I have to talk about how insanely hot it was at the game. It was just, New Year's Day and I'm hot. My dad has sunscreen on his face. He's like, did you put any on? I lied and said, yes, no, I didn't.
Yeah, you look a little red.
Not more than usual. I always have a pinkish hue. But yeah, it was New Year's Day and it was hot and it was weird. And I had to take a layer off at halftime until the sun went down, and everything about the day just felt surreal, really. We were able to, I'll just talk a little bit, just for a second, a little tangent. We walked right near where the training center is, like that parking lot. Never really walked over there before. Whole different world. We took a big...
The Quest Diagnostic Center?
Yeah, the parking lot right next to it. You can literally go up to the fence and look in where they practice outside. And it was cool. It was just all right, cool. We have a little time ahead of going into the stadium, so let's do that. And went in, walked around a bunch, got some Knishes. It was great.
I need a Knish.
Yes, those Knishes.
Yeah. They're different now. They're like Artisan.
Artisan Knish?
Yeah.
That'll be the name of the next band.
Or the episode.
That's going to be the name of the next great Giants wide receiver.
Oh my goodness. I have to bring up the this text I got. Colin was involved, where it was the best names in college football, and there's a guy. Let me see where it plays. But his name is Mo. Last name Bility. Mobility is this guy's name.
That rules.
Stop it.
I'm not kidding.
I hope he's 350 pounds. And
North Texas. He's a freshman. What's his position?
DT.
They don't say his position.
Please, DT.
What kind of last name is Billity?
Mobility. There's also another guy named Bumper Pool.
That rules.
Bumper Pool.
I love Bumper Pool. Summer day camp style.
The best first name was The Coldest.
Oh yeah, love it.
That's like a football name. I've never heard a better football name. Mobility though.
Football movie name almost.
Yeah. All right,
So
we made it this far. You do Daniel Jones now?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, might as well just jump right into it. Actually, I wanted to read something that I thought was very interesting. Over 5 games, the 74% completion percentage, 1,040 passing yards, 257 rushing yards, 8 total touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's
Dan?
It doesn't seem right.
How many passing yards?
1,040.
And that's 5 games?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right from my memory, but I'll believe you.
How do you get to 1,004? All right.
1,000.
We did have 300. He did have 300 yards one game. He probably hit two. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But anyway, this game, 19-24, 177, 2 TDs, 11 carries, 91 yards, another 2 TDs, 4 touchdowns total. And I know last week you guys, and I agree with what Dan was saying, that we wanted to see him, throw over 300 yards again. He did hit multiple touchdown passes, multiple touchdown runs. I think, given the game plan that they were running, I'm not gonna be upset that he didn't hit 300 yards passing, because I think the idea was to run the ball.
Yards.
He ran for 90 yards.
90 yards. Yeah.
It's gonna be hard for me right now to sit here and I think 4 weeks ago on this podcast I said I was out on Daniel Jones, and I might be wrong. I might have been wrong. I might have been wrong. And while I'm not going to sit here and say that I think he deserves, a long-term contract or anything of that nature, in my mind, the last 2 weeks, he's earned coming back another year, at least. I would prefer a 2-year deal, because I think the franchise tag is too high. Yes. I've seen 40 up to $45 million I don't know if that's accurate because I've also seen around 32 million, but I've read a few articles about Lamar Jackson. 45 million they said was going to take the franchise. Him, I think they said much to do with Deshaun Watson's horrible deal the Browns signed.
Yes.
Yeah. 55 million a year. I think that's 2 million for every sexual assault allegation. So I mean, listen, I think the franchise tag, Colin, I think last week you were talking about that a lot, and I think it's too high. I think the better option in my mind is the transition tag, which plays out to be the top 10 of the culmination of the top 10 salary, or the average of the top 10 salaries rather than the top 5. Brings his number down, does give teams an option to match a deal or offer him a deal, and then gives the Giants the option to match that deal as well. So while you're also locking him up, you're getting an idea of maybe what he's going to get in free agency. So I think that gives them sort of a way to do both at the same time. I think your risk here is alienating him, Daniel Jones. But I do think he wants to be back. I do think he likes the Giants. So I don't think that risk that is inherent with other players might be with him. So while the franchise tag, I think, is there, I think maybe you're Saquon Barkley franchise tag, and I think you are a transition tag, Daniel Jones. On the other side, I think, a 2 to 3 year deal, $20 to $25 million a year. And I'm into that right now. I really am, and I think he's proved it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dan, I want to know more about Dan right now after this game, because you're the one, I think you and I have been more the Daniel Jones haters. Not that Colin has necessarily been a Daniel Jones supporter the whole season, but I've been a bit more wishy-washy than you have, Dan. So I'm curious, has this game shown you anything else that you needed to see?
Yeah, for sure. The running's great. I still don't think it's something you want to depend on for him. The ability there is good. There were some design runs, which was nice. The things that were more encouraging to me was sort of his quick decision making and sort of, trusting the play and just putting it out there, taking the shot rather than delaying and whatever, just, attacking more. He had that touchdown pass to Hodges, I think. It's Hodges or Richie James. The one where he stepped up in the pocket and sort of rolled out right after climbing the pocket.
Richie James, I believe that was.
Richie James one. That's like a replica of what he did another week. And if he gets comfortable doing that, that's massive. He has never sort of exhibited that ability or confidence in the scheme before, because usually he would flush out and just roll outside and take a loss or throw it away. So I think that's a huge development for his game. I agree with you guys. I don't think there's a solution waiting for us in the draft, especially where we're going to be picking now. And I don't think there are better options out there. So yeah, keeping him on the team for a short-term deal sounds great. I'd still would like to see him do it, in the playoff game. Whether or not, I'm not saying he has to win it, but perform at a high level again, because it seems like something's clicking. But I want to be sure. You know what I mean? It seems like something's clicking in the offense and the way he's approaching the team, and just his style's evolving a little bit, which I think we've been saying for the past 3 years is it just seems like nothing has changed. And I think there's something has changed in the past 4 or 5 games. So if he can do it again, play another, best game of his career. He did 2 best games of his career in a row. Do it again, then I feel way more confident going into next season. Interested to see the kind of weapons they put around him. It'd be super exciting. Again, I don't want the 10-year contract for him. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think anyone's saying that. But be interested to see what the numbers look like for a transition tag. Wait, so how many? So can you franchise a player on offense and defense, or do you only get one? What does franchise tag work on an annual basis?
You get one franchise tag for any player on your team. You could also get one transition tag for anyone on your team. There's also another weird one. I think they used it on Marcus Golden a couple years ago. I'm not exactly sure. There's some weird nuances in salary and those tags that I think.
So what would you do for
so
Dexter
rarely
Lawrence
used.
then?
Well, Dexter Lawrence, just pick up his 5th-year option at this point. You don't have to resign him right now.
Yeah.
He had. Or they did. Well, he was drafted the same year Daniel Jones was, right?
He was.
So they already picked up his fifth-year option. So he's on contract next year. He's going to get, I don't remember what it is, but it's not top 5. It's like top 15. I think it's the fifth-year option of salaries. Top 10, top 15. So he's on contract. So you're going into this offseason, I think, maybe we the other episode talked a little about we're going to have so much cap space. The cap is projected to move to like 220 million. Giants should have about 60 million in cap space. So, if you get Daniel Jones for 2030, and then you have $30 million to get yourself a wide receiver or sign your draft picks and, cut Kenny Galladay, give you another 15 million, whoever else, roster moves you want to make. But I think the most important point that you made, Dan, is I don't think there's anybody else out there, sans, Lamar Jackson coming to the Giants, that are going to make them a better team next year than Daniel Jones. And he's familiar with the offense. He's going to work with them again. They're only going to progress, and he's only getting better. As all the things you just said, I think make a ton of sense for this team next year.
I just want to put one thing to you, TJ, that I put to Colin last week. Like the sort of revelations around good coaching, and like we see it with Brock Purdy or like Jared Stidham, like this week with the Raiders. Like,
don't give Josh McDaniels any credit.
I guess not, but yeah, but like something like just like I think we all believe that Dable and Kafka are excellent coordinators, and it just takes competency. Like is that a concern at all for Daniel Jones, that he's just realizing the potential of this offense in a way that like anyone can come in and facilitate it with a degree of like competency?
I don't think so. I don't. It doesn't seem like that to me. Like I feel like he's, you know what he's doing? It's like an avatar when he takes his tail and he puts it into the plants thing, and then they go together.
Yeah,
and
I haven't seen it. Don't stop spoiling it.
Not the new one. I mean, it's kind of like Avatar World is all like that. You'll see. Yes. The 2-year deal is the ideal situation. I think what the direction that Shane's going to go in with it, because of all the situations that we're dealing with right now and how he's been looking. This last game it was such a big difference from how I felt last week to now. So yeah, last week I was all about franchise tag. This game said transition tag to me. I forgot that. Not even franchise. No, I mean, signing does make the most sense.
The last 2 games made me think 2 to 3 year deal. But yes, you keep him next year. At this point, you keep him next year. Whatever you have to do, you keep him next year.
I'd say 2-year deal.
Not whatever you have to do. Not
with an option,
not whatever
for
you have
3.
to do.
Not automatic 3.
If you get a favorable 2-year deal, you can. If things go bad, you can trade him.
Let me go back, Dan, to what you asked me. What I do think in that situation is that if I'm Daniel Jones, I am taking the most money I can from whoever I possibly can next year, and that I have played very well towards the end of the year. I brought my shitty team with my shitty offensive line, my shitty wide receivers to the playoffs. Whether or not it was me, my agent can make an argument that it was to a team, and I will go and make the most money I can. That being said, the Giants have options to not let him do that, and I don't know what that free agent market looks like for him. And I mean, there seems to be a bit of a quarterback hungry teams out there. I mean, what do you think like the New York Jets would do for Daniel Jones? Do you think the New York Jets would give Daniel Jones 7 years and $150 million?
Probably.
They might.
They might. Yeah, maybe. There are plenty of teams like the Broncos. There's all sorts of teams. It's just I'm not good enough to evaluate his skills like a comparative basis. Is it that he's just doing what he's supposed to in a great system now? He's obviously playing better than he has previously. But I don't know. It was just an interesting thing. Like I feel like when you have great systems now, we're seeing it more and more. Like great offensive minds are bringing the best out of their teams, regardless of who's playing quarterback to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, to elaborate, I mean, I think that if you don't have the coaching change that we had this year, then you don't see this Daniel Jones. But I mean, how many times, in your life can you learn and take those skills elsewhere? Maybe he's stifled by the previous regimes. Maybe, he's been awakened and opened up. And then I think a lot of times when you're a franchise quarterback who's going to receive that deal, then you're bringing a lot of your offensive mind to that. So perhaps he has learned a lot to continue his success elsewhere, even without the people that implemented the scheme. Because if you're going to go somewhere, and I think that a lot of teams are doing, like the more, younger offensive-minded sort of coaching, that you can take your ideas to that team and, potentially influence the offense as well. So, I mean, all of those things are, positive for Daniel Jones's career. Whether or not he's a New York Giant next year, I don't know. But I think that it would be beneficial for us, at least if you're going to bring on a project to replace him at some point. I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Talk about it all year.
The team still has massive holes and massive talent gaps. Like no one's saying that this team is all of a sudden like good. They're just optimized, really. So
I mean, yeah,
to have
people saying
stability at quarterback for a year or two while you build out the rest of the team would be.
I agree,
great.
and then once you have your team set, then you bring the quarterback in, and then you raise them up. People want to talk about drafting Anthony Richardson in the first round. I'm like, we should be looking at cornerback, linebacker, interior offensive line, wide receiver. Those are far more important. Quarterback is all of a sudden like not as much a position of need for the New York Giants as it was, 5 weeks ago.
What I will say about Daniel Jones and his play, and I thought of this after the game, this was like my one thought, and I think I made this like analogy early on in the season, but I think now he's like squarely in like the Alex Smith zone. I feel like he is playing really well, playing within the system really well, has the ability to take your team to the playoffs, maybe win a couple of games, but not. I still don't think he is like an X factor, you're like, like a true quarterback that'll like put fear into like defensive coordinators. I think our offensive coordinators make the defensive coordinators fearful, but I don't think he himself.
And that's why this is a perfect time for him to keep having people think that about him.
Yeah. Instead of being like maxing out a top 15 quarterback, I think he could max out at like 11. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about next year. I'm thinking about the next couple of weeks. I think that's the most important thing that we need to round it back to. This is a spot we haven't been in. To 2016, sure, but I don't know. That doesn't even feel real. That feels like something that was thrown in our face like a piece of meat and then taken away real quick. I think this feels a little different. It's going to be fun. House money. Let's go.
I like that, house money. By the way, Dan, where does Kirk Cousins rank in the quarterbacks of the NFL?
I don't know, 17.
17. Kirk Cousins is 100% a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
What do you mean? Like
name 10 quarterbacks better,
or like
name 10 quarterbacks better than
if
Kirk Cousins.
If you're starting a franchise right now.
No, I'm talking about right now, right today.
Who do you want starting for your team right now?
Today, would you rather have Justin Fields or Kirk Cousins?
Probably Justin Fields, yeah.
That's wrong. It's just objectively wrong.
What do you mean?
No,
you're like
I'm just bringing up like last week's podcast. You're like, he could be as good as Kirk Cousins. Daniel Jones could be as good as Kirk Cousins. I was like, well, then great. Should keep signing him to a 10-year deal.
Cousins is a top 10. You think Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback?
If Kirk Cousins could perform like he does at 1 p.m. on a meaningless Sunday in the middle of the year in prime time and in the playoffs, he would be, top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
I don't know. I think that's an insane statement.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
dude.
I mean, it's funny because they're similar in that sense. They play, so far they play well in games that aren't, at least as of recently, not so important. So they have to prove that they can do it in the bigger spots. And, let's hope that Kirk Cousins looks like absolute dog shit if we end up playing.
Yeah, he will. That's why I want to play the Vikings so bad, because he's going to suck in the playoffs because he can't
He's a top 10
perform.
quarterback.
He can't. No.
What are you
Okay, well,
saying,
let me
dude?
ask you a question. Well, okay, who is the antithesis of Kirk Cousins? Is Eli Manning, right?
I guess so.
No.
Well, Eli Manning was always good in the clutch, always good when it was important. But during the regular season, he wasn't always a star or wasn't always putting up numbers. He'd often throw interceptions constantly. I mean, if you want to sit here and tell me you didn't talk shit about Eli his entire career for those reasons, of course we did. We all did. But I'm saying that when it was important, much like the Giants defense this year is much like Eli Manning. When it is important, Eli Manning stepped up and made it happen.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is the opposite of that. When it's important, he completely falters. But during the regular season, can throw Justin Jefferson. I guess it helps you have the best receiver in the league on your team. But,
Sure.
He'll throw four touchdown passes and 300 yards every game.
Yeah, guess what? Kirk Cousins is the new Tony Romo. That's who he is.
Yes, he is. Yes. Exactly the same
more
quarterback.
like that, yeah.
So I don't even
Tony
want
Romo's
to
more talented, though, I think.
Yeah.
Tony Romo
He was better.
had
He was better.
mobility, He could create. He had a better arm.
He had a higher ceiling, but he never.
Well, that's why I don't even want to put Jones in that same category for the sole fact that they're like very different quarterbacks. Even like those two and him are very different. But I know what you mean with
the most comparable quarterback to Daniel Jones in the NFL is sort of like Lamar Jackson, and they're like not even that close.
Yeah,
they're not very close.
No, but really, I mean, if you look at the numbers, like Lamar Jackson doesn't have those. He had the MVP year is an aberration in my mind. He's a very good quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong, but like, he's not throwing for 4,000 yards every year, but he's definitely rushing for 1,000. Daniel Jones, I mean, I think has almost 700 yards. He's like Lamar Jackson light, I guess you could say.
Oof.
Oh, is that bad? I didn't mean it like that until after I said it, and then it sort of hit me that might have been.
Did you say light?
A little bit racist. I said light. Well, I said light, not white.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. All right. Well, the Big Blue United podcast is canceled. It's been fun, guys.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I can't believe this is where we are, and I hate that there has to be another game played to end this season. This Sunday. I wish we were going right into the playoffs. That would be great.
Agreed. But I'm gonna watch just the same. And this is why, I mean, maybe what's right is to sit people, but I think we've always talked about wanting to be entertained. And it says on our page, podcast by the fans for the fans. Let's see them starters.
Yeah.
Let me see Daniel Jones have another really good game. That's what I really want to see. That's why I want to see everyone play.
Yeah.
But before I forget, because I would be remiss not to share this, when it looks like the music director of the stadium, the PA system, has a liking for Richie James, because I heard Rick James played over the loudspeaker multiple times when he had first downs. And I don't remember the last time a player of ours had his own song. So that's
Super Freak.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
I want to call him
he's
Richard
just like normal
James.
freak, though. Normal freak.
yeah, normal. Normal freak. I like that.
He's definitely. I mean, everyone in the NFL is freakishly athletic, but he's not like Myles Garrett or anything. He's just like normal freak.
Median freak.
Average freak.
Average freak.
Average freaky.
Freakish.
But yeah, I mean, just to touch on, I'd also be remiss to say that Landon Collins, hey, he's back.
Oh, how did we not bring up Landon Collins?
Well, this is a good way to end this, I'd say, because he's stepping up right when he needs to. He's taken a role on that in the past he didn't have the humility for. He's taken it with both hands now, and he's kicking ass to
Pun
doing
intended.
so.
By the way,
Well,
the only player on the Giants roster the last time they made the playoffs.
Yep. That's wild. And, I saw his dad there. He was taking pictures with everybody with his jersey that said Landon's dad, number 21. He's actually bigger than his son, so that was cool. So
it made me so happy when he scored that touchdown, because I was just looking at him slap the fans, and in my mind I was like, oh, he's so happy to be back here, so happy to be back in blue,
Yeah,
and
I think
I feel
really
good for him, because he got paid like super hard in Washington too. So he just like, maybe didn't have the career he thought, but he was an all-pro at one point. He got the fattest contract a safety ever got, and now he's back at home, scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Going to the playoffs.
And I saw both of those touchdowns that he scored for the Giants. The other was in London.
What's Jabril Peppers doing now?
He's not in the league anymore, is he?
I'm googling him right now.
It's just because he was his replacement,
Yeah, I'd have to guess that
He plays for the Patriots.
Still?
Hmm?
Okay, good. I'm glad. Good for him.
Yeah, I'm happy. Happy he's making money.
Mm-hmm.
Take him
Yeah.
down. Anything else tonight, guys?
I guess we'll see how 425 on Sunday works out. It'll be interesting to see what the starters are. Looking forward to it. I hope it's entertaining. I hope it's not a dread fest, but I'm fine with sitting everybody too. So you know how I feel.
It'll be fun until someone gets injured.
Exactly.
Oh man, no one's getting injured. We're gonna go in. We're gonna win this game. We're gonna trounce the Eagles. I'm gonna talk some shit to the Eagles. By the way, I don't know. You guys don't live in New York City, but everyone is an Eagles fan. By the way, now you walk down the street.
Weird.
You can't walk down the street without seeing an Eagles hat.
That's
Eagles,
so lame.
Eagles shirt. Everyone's all about it.
That's so lame.
Makes me sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, I don't care what happens next weekend. I just want to, I want to live my life in a happy way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's smart.
All right. Anyway, thanks guys for listening tonight. Please follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow us at BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter. Don't forget to download the DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN. Do some parlays on that Giants-Eagles game. Jalen Hurts, -10 yards. Daniel Jones, 10,000 yards.
There you go.
We're back
Thanks
up.
for listening. Thanks for listening tonight. Take care.